I've got a little bit of handrail here I had left over, and I've got a joiner key clamp thing. You may not have that, but you can use just any sort of clamp, a quick clamp you can use, whatever. And I've cut a 44mm for a 42mm thing, and I've cut a spike on there. This can be any length you want. Right, what you can see here is a bit of handrail that I had left over. Now, if this was a footing, obviously you'd get it as low as you need it. So we'll treat this as an internal corner for now. So what we have here is that top of that wants to be the top of your brick, yeah, in an internal, yeah. What you could do even is you could have a batten, say, on there like that, so it rests on there and it rests on your brickwork. Now, as long as your brickwork's level and gauge, and you put gauge lines on there, as you come up, that will remain level, so therefore that will remain the same radius, so therefore you don't need to plumb it. So if you get it set for the first course, that point wants to be the internal in an internal radius. You come round, like I say, you put a batten on it and you can rest that on there then. Now, it's not going to pull, providing that was concreted in, postcreted or whatever, and you've got that dead on plumb. It's not like you're pulling a line on a profile. So in theory, obviously double check just to be sure, but that won't ever pull because it's resting on that point and it's resting on that point. So that's your internal. Now, this could be as long as you want it. This could be 3 meters, a 6 meter radius, it could be anything you want. This is just a small radius that I've set up for you. So that would be an internal corner. And you'd want this, top of this, with your gauge line for an internal. For an external, which I'll show you now, you'd want the handrail, you'd want that fitting for it. Because as I'll show you now, just quickly, you won't need that, you won't need a batten on an external. So you'll set that up, move that out of the way quick. So you'd set this up. Again, you'd make sure that your initial datum is the same as here, and if you keep your brickwork gauge, that's gauged, you're going to stay level and that will stay the same radius. Now for this, obviously, if you were coming round, you would then set this one to the next gauge line. Now, if you haven't got one of these key clamp handrail fittings or whatever, it's only that I've got a couple spare, you could use a clamp underneath it. Just a quick clamp, click, 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 and as long as that can rotate on the top of it and it keeps your lines, it doesn't matter what it is. So again, look, so your next course, that point would be on the external of it, you see? That's the easiest way, and that would work all the way round, providing that's concreted in. Now, if you've concreted it in, you can either break it out, pull it out, do whatever you want. But as long as that's sturdy and steady, and you check it, you will not need to plumb the outside if you're doing external, or the inside, because it will stay the same radius, because your date in there and your gauge is the same as what your brickwork gauge will be, and it'll go up and that will stay level. So therefore your radius will stay the same and it will be absolutely dead on. Now, the gentleman yesterday who messaged me about this, what he's got, which I'll quickly throw this together just to, what he's got a segment line. So as this is set up, he has a point on the brickwork at the front, that's the face, and he has a straight line and he has a measurement for his opening. And I think it was 1650 or something like that, I think he said. So if that was the case, you could now, once you had that set, you can make a template out of some hardboard, some 6mm ply or whatever, and you can make a template of that, and then you could use that, because he's got a rubbed engaged arch going above, you could then set that so you know your distance to know how many voussoirs and so on and so forth for your geometry at the end. Or, say for argument's sake this was a gateway and you've got a pier going here and a pier going over there, and this was a radius to bring you to a front wall. A lot of people would have the name of the house or whatever. Now, again, that's on that straight line. You could template that to make a stone. So you could cut the template, send it off to the stonemason. Stonemason can just send it on a freight line lorry or whatever, and you can just fit it because you are guaranteed it's right. No need to template it. You know, you template at the bottom and it's wrong at the top or whatever. This is foolproof, providing you make sure that stays plumb and you double check every now and then. You won't even need a level. Now you could build this whole radius. If you darken this area, I've done a previous video, you can use a laser, and you can laser the level, and you can use this trammel as the edge, and then you could throw your level away. You wouldn't need it at all. You could build the whole thing without a level. It's really, really quite simple. It's a simple setup. If you haven't got a handrail, you could just nick a fucking scaffold pole, and then all you've got to do is cut a hole a mil or two bigger. Like this is 42, so I cut that as a 44 mil hole saw. So it's a so straightforward setup, and this could be as long as you want. It could be 3 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters, whatever you want, providing that's steady. Now, you know, you're going to get people saying, oh, well, what if it pulls over? What if it pulls over? But this is not a profile. You are not pulling a line on it. There's no tension on it. It's just resting. It's just resting. Now, if this went up, of course, with the gauge lines that I've got on there, again, it would rest on that. It would rest on that fitting underneath. So it's not pulling to or froing. You are just resting it. Now, if that brickwork was levelled and you were very gentle with it, you can just run that along the brickwork like that, and it won't go anywhere, it won't do anything. And as long as that point's there, this will stay plumb all the way. No level required.